Bundle how to bundle full ass crazy back to some rudimentary normal. Okay, well, you are going to end up with this. You see that yellow square that's inside of the yellow square? And it's right now. So this is when I sync my breath back up. I'm usually aiming for that Akasha of Akasha. And I get real excited when I land on it and when I intuitively need to check and I look. Because almost never do I land on the compounds. No fucking fire in the water, no fucking earth in the Akasha, none of that shit. It's like you got up there, Prithivi of Prithivi, yellow square in yellow square. And the sun rises at 7:14 in the morning, which is appropriate to myself. Why do I say? I don't know. Because, number one, if you start going left brain when you're a right-brained person, you get some real fucking hardcore training wheels just reattached to your shit. You can't have training wheels hooked to fucking Bugatti wheels without wrecking and fucking shredding up the road. It's very inappropriate and it just ain't helpful, but it happens nonetheless. You're like, how in the fuck is this happening? I'll show you what I mean. Yes, I know somebody's going to be like, what the fuck is he talking about? This has to do with what you got in your subconscious, what you can make conscious, and what will happen if you dare to do that. Because you have people in your environment, whoever they are, if they got some real booger man shit in their subconscious zone that they're not fucking with, like you have a friend who's got a real serious demon, but they're a nice person, but they just tucked it in. They tucked that motherfucker into their underworld situation. That motherfucker will attach to you. And you'll have to cut it off, and then, but they won't do anything different because it's too weird for them. They don't want to understand. They don't want to hear it. They're just going to live with it till they die. And you're going to watch them have all kinds of fucking, they'll be going bald. They'll be having patches of rosacea in their head, have to cut all their hair down to being real short. And they'll just accept that, and they'll change into old lady phase. And they won't retain the youthfulness that would have been right there for them. And you'll be like, man, this is weird that people are like this. Well, you find out all kinds of weird shit about people. Because people are fucked up. Mostly people are all fucked up. And then get rid of this shit. I only like to use this shadow camera when dealing with shit like that. I don't need it. I don't even like it. But it is useful. I'm reasonably certain about what I'm about to show you here on this fine day. So let's look. The part of the premise of this, I had to go through the motions. Like you see this wave. This is a wave. It goes from the top left, each fucking day the same. But instead of having a week of 7 days, you got these with 13 days. You're like, all right, well, what the fuck? So what? Just consider who makes our calendars and shit. And why. Number one mind control tool is the calendar wheel. I don't care if you know or care. I don't give a shit. I'm just telling you what about it is corresponding to myself so that then it can be shown to be useful in some sort of way. Like this is my mom's white rhythmic wind. She's a white wind. There's some other weird shit. Like right before I went to sleep, I was listening to this story about, and these pop up on like Woodward TV's show. Another show about the moon. It's called Moonfall. The ridiculous little elements in that, if they weren't around my bed and caused me to laugh my ass off, they were. Even to the part where I've got these two little keys that go to a laser, a pointer. It's got a lock on the back. You have to put the little key in and turn. They're both the same. You don't really need that. I don't know what the point is. I guess so you don't burn the battery up with it in your pocket or something. Who the fuck knows? But even going through the whole story of this fucking bullshit movie, it was all there. And the guy was saying, I feel like they rushed through the movie. Like, it would have been good, but they rushed through it. Like, yeah, I bet it does feel like they rushed through it. It's like the same thing. I would put it on. Don't even... I guess you should be a lot more careful with what you tell other people. Now, where was I going to go? You don't even know where you're at. It gets confusing trying to reel it back in. I don't think I'm going to watch the Tim Cat's show anymore. There was something that was really creepy about that. And then the length of time, you're not going to do it. I like Mark Dice. That's another one that cuts all the way through back to the same time. Every day I have the same video. I watch this video first. Now I don't have to do shit like this. But like if you have some basic form of process,
Good morning, folks. It's a day of wait and see here with space weather as the CME from 3 days ago is approaching Earth. We've got interesting stories to follow, but let's start with our star at spaceweathernews.com. We find the last 24 hours on the sun pretty quiet. The southern coronal hole is relatively dominating this 193 angstrom view, with a long sunspot group to the north of it. This is one of the longer and thinner active regions I ever remember seeing, distending along a heliographic latitude, with simple beta magnetic class for now. Yesterday morning we saw the filament eruption during the SDO eclipse. GOES 16 caught it, however, and so here's what we didn't see. Slow twisting release, as with so many other helical CME eruptions, and that smaller remnant filament left behind shrank back down to the chromosphere. The big story in space weather right now is, of course, the CME expected to impact within the next 24 hours. Eyes on the solar wind, as it won't be scary, but could produce geomagnetic storms when it impacts here in the coming hours. Couple little fun notes here. New microwave imager on the ISS is providing epic new views of the world and showing where the water is. We always knew there was a bunch of turkeys at NASA, didn't we? And speaking of the ISS, they plan to crash it into the ocean here in about 8 or 9 years. You may have heard about it, but here's the official plan in today's link list, and it will be sent to Point Nemo, where over 100 satellites have been sent down at the point in the ocean furthest from land. Wolf 359 up next. The star ahead in line towards the center of the galaxy past Barnard's star pulled a flare 2 years ago, about 100 times stronger than its usual flares. We are learning about the event now, and should be instantly recalling the continued outbursting on Barnard and Proxima. The stars are operating at elevated levels. And last but not least, they are so close and yet so far here. Interesting aurora at Saturn, driven largely by the atmospheric winds, not just the solar wind coupling with the magnetic field of the planet. Thing is, the winds at the polar cap are exceptionally forced by solar and magnetic activity at a planet, including the cross-polar jets. It's basically what they've animated here. So for those keeping score, saying it's the magnetic field plus the upper atmospheric polar winds is like saying it's solar interaction with the magnetic field of the planet, both directly and then indirectly through wind forcing. We greatly appreciate your support. Fun stories today, but the watch is for the solar wind tonight. Moderate CME due soon. We've got wind maps and shots of our star to close. Subscribe and...
Okay, so the sun is the first fucking thing that will fuck this planet's shit up. And you'll never know. You'll never know. Sometimes fucking, you'll get one of these CMEs come, and it drives your fucking body's electricity. Your shit goes crazy. But you almost have some of the basic same effects. So if you were to, I'm gonna fucking not watch the weather. I don't watch the TV weather from the news people because I think they program the weather. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. 100%. Because whatever technology, if they use it, and they do, it has some sort of, if you have a bunch of people on the earth, on the surface of the earth, they got different emotional shit going on. That has a direct connection to the volcanic activity, to the fucking weather, and they have to harness it if they're gonna fuck with the shit like that. You're not gonna make a storm and then have people sad. You have to have people sad and then make the storm, or something like that. And I'm sure they would have had scientific proof along the way where they tried to do it and couldn't, or who the fuck knows? He probably has a good idea. This is another weird lady. Alright. You're 10 minutes in and you ain't said shit. Yeah. It's like the other day I made a 40 fucking minute video sitting here on this tablet thing, basically just venting out of one's head the weird random shit, and then it deletes itself. So you run out of storage. You can manage storage, or you can hit cancel. You hit cancel, that motherfucker was gone. Okay, it's gone. So what? I canceled it. It's gone. And then I had the same situation happen one more time. I managed storage. I kept the video. I don't know what the fuck. There was no option to do shit, really, with managed storage, other than I immediately saw the stored video. On the other account, it didn't fucking do anything but disappear that bastard. Alright, let me get back to the focus. And the focus is this. It hasn't deleted the book. It did. How the fuck? Motherfucker. They want you to read this book. That's weird. The people at the far side, they're trying to explain the UFO shit. I personally, I don't think it makes a shit unless they're abducting you. You know, maybe then you should do some finding out. That fucking Bud Hopkins shit. That is the weirdest fucking story of all of them that I ever heard. And let me tell you why. Just because I ran across it. The Bud Hopkins. Where's it at? What's the name of the town? It's something weird, but it's relevant. I've got a grandpa. My mom's mother's dad. His name was Dewey. He was a short little old man. Because he was old whenever I was fucking still a kid, obviously. But he died, I think, in 1997. So that's a limited memory of somebody who's still in your life. He wasn't even really my grandpa. But here's how the shit gets weird. There's a picture of this guy. They had this crazy fucking story. It's going to go into it, I'm sure. I'm not even going to look for it. I'm just going to tell you the story. Because when I heard it, I was like, no fucking way. And the town that is around there is like Kelly. The town's there's some Kelly is in it. So that's usually what'll get me to listen. Because if I hear my name, it attracts my attention. There's nothing I can do about that. You know, I'm going to listen and I'm going to give it a certain amount of... However, how much credit should you give something random anyway? You know, if you hear your fucking name and your name's not John, I would think it would immediately factor up some in the numbers. But, you know, I guess everyone can decide for themselves, and maybe they should tinker with the shit. So these guys spent like two full days, two guys gun battling at the house. These little fucking alien dudes. That it's not like an alien you ever see. It looks like a little weird toy creature, and the motherfuckers they'd shoot them out of the trees. I was hearing the weird like sounds of like when you're at the carnival and you shoot the little things and it goes pa-ting. The things would fall out of the tree real slow, like they have some gravity interrupter or something, and then they'd run back away. And they just kept coming at the door all night, and they just wanted to talk, but they were scaring the shit out of these people. And then I saw a picture, because one of the guys' name was Dewey. Dewey and some other guy were battling these fucking things, and this happened a long ass time ago before I was born. And it shows that this guy, Dewey, had a little creature in his house, a little like a replica of these, whatever the fuck they were fighting. And he had a little fucking can, and he had people put money in the can. So even until his old age, this old dude had, like, you know, let people come and see the house or something strange like that. But the odd thing is that Dewey and my grandpa Dewey look like the exact person. Like, I am not bullshitting. The motherfuckers look like they're the same person. And it caused me some real cognitive dissonance. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on. Hold the fuck on. And it made me wonder about Grandpa Dewey. Because as I find out, the real grandfather, my real bloodline grandfather, is a whole nother guy. And there's weird shit with that. You know, my mom didn't know she had a different dad, I think, when she was younger. I don't know, maybe my grandma. You know, back in the past, women couldn't do shit like that without there being real social stigma problems having the child. My mom said that because she's got an older brother, two older brothers, and they basically remember a little more because their parents split up and that wasn't something that happened and then got back together. Now, I know that my grandpa, Dewey, who's my grandpa because I choose him to be the family member, he fucked up Lucky. Lucky's the real one's name. While he was in the bathtub, he like knocked his ass out or something because the dude was just huge, what they said. I never saw even a picture of the dude. I've had some weird ghost shit with him here since fucking with this weird grid interaction because that's part of the shit that occurs. I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to say that is shit that affects you. Invisible world shit. You don't want to know, then you'll have a wonderful, stupid life. And you won't have to worry about any fucking thing beyond your little bubble. But if you have to know yourself, or you know thyself, then you could take it in a red pill, motherfucker. You're just going to have to just take you 3 of them and just get it over with. Take you 2 red ones and a blue one. And that's what you need. Because you're going to have the overcoming red just because of the whole world. But I would say the one blue just to dull it out so you make it out alive. By no means take one of both and just think that'll work. You'll just end up severely handicapped. This is not the book I wanted to see. So they jacked my book. Exit this. I try to get it where it downloads it, and then when you hit always, you don't want to fucking hit always. Never hit always. I gotta go to work. I can't even make this story now. Now I'm under the whip of the clock. And did you know Vesta is the wife of Noah's name. I did not know that. And a small motorcycle vehicle. That's a Vespa, dummy. Okay, so it's a Vespa. What do you want? If you say it with a lisp, it's a Vespa. A Vesta. Black clocks. I hate these things. This is the government. This is the New World Order. Are you accepting the charges? I don't have a choice, do I? I'll have to take you over too. I don't think it's going to let me go into the realm I want to. Oh man, these are some badass books. They have assembled all these. This is in, what is this one? This is the Leyline Atom book. The one I told Denise about. And it really does take a long time before it hits the points where anyone interested in the topic will be, yeah, so what? Mobile focus. The mobile focus is a continually moving, traveling over the Earth's surface with no particular place to go. Theoretically, it is full resident in one of the localities for about 100 years. There's 100 years. I was wondering why that kept coming up. But with an overspill of energy before and afterwards of 50 years, making 200 years its total presence in one local. The mobile focus is believed was once residence at Jerusalem and Mount Kailas, but in the course of Earth history, obviously it has been many places. The focus operates by means of a predetermined evolutionary activating mechanism. If we wind up a clock, it then proceeds through its mechanism to tell time. As the dome supposedly came 3 times, they are pre-programmed the matrix of energy lines over the Earth to coincide with certain planetary and constellatory exactitudes existing in far future. I'd buy that for $1. The action of the mobile focus is much like the effect of a living master, like the 14th Dalai Lama, for example, can have on a receptive human. We can experience profound change in our consciousness just by sitting in the presence of the master, but only to the degree of our receptibility to his or her heightened pure vibrations. See, I don't never remember hearing this. I've read this book 100 times. The mobile focus as a geomantic living master for Gaia has been moved. Therefore, in accordance with master plan, a vast far-seeing tablet of planetary destiny over Earth's surface to resonate equally at each culture for each creed for 200 years, facilitating the implementation of Gaia's soul programs in the physical domain of the human culture. The mobile focus this model is an initiatory energy beam designed by adepts under guidance of the Elohim for the transfiguration of consciousness from human plane to the one of angelic resonance. It is like a powerful spotlight of color, sound, vibration, shone steadily over a specific region. It has an agenda, uplifting humanity awareness into knowledge of the master plan and that particular bioregion's role in achieving this total plan for Earth. Here we are listening to Gaia's soul telling her and us the reason for purpose existence as an inhabited planet. We listen to the wise voice of her planetary logos, Sanat Kumara, as he imparts spiritual qualities through the grid matrix. Thus we begin to understand why things are precisely the way they are on the physical plane according to Hermes' plan of causation. We begin to appreciate Gaia's karma is largely the result of our ill-informed actions over the millennium. Yeah, that's true. Indeed, when Gaia is appreciated as a sentient, coherent living being, Then we will awaken in the horror of the scope of our injuries we have afflicted upon her. I largely believe that is also true, and have my own personal evidence to suggest it is as well. Because as we are going into the dimensional shift, which is to occur at some point in time, we get out of 3 density and go into 4 density, which has a lot to do with the magnetic fields of the planets. That was initially what I was showing in the solar weather shit. Heavy on that Saturn there. That shit that's going on the top of Saturn, that's right back. I was telling my dad last night, I was sitting in the room, and it's just weird because what I was telling him I was seeing on Saturn again. That's exactly what was going on the top of Saturn. That's kind of weird. But it's not lost to be like, what the fuck was that? You try to work on somebody who's having a sick body. You can be in the environment of them, looking at the wall. And that's what I was doing. I was looking at the wall and focusing on one point. Why in the fuck didn't I just do the exercises when I was young and I first got them? Who knows? I'm stubborn. I do shit very deliberately, and some of it way later in time and backwards. I'm very strange that way. I have a different setup in my brain. They have tested this and they've said, oh, you're a holotropic thinker. You're not a linear thinker. I mean, you think in a hologram. I guess it's true. You're losing focus. So the mobile focus is sort of like, as I understand it, and then I'll be done with this, because I've made way too much time into this bullshit. Basically, loosely trying to find something that's already deleted. This is a great book in that it has a certain 2 or 3 things. The mobile focus is one, because right now the mobile focus is in the Gulf of Mexico. And there's something going on there with Atlantis, and something's coming up. I've looked on the Google Earth and found some anomalous shit that looks like it was coming up, and it makes no fucking sense what I was looking at. I was like, that doesn't even look right. Something's wrong. Something's weird here. I don't know if they don't black it. They do black some shit out on the, you're getting old data. You're not getting real-time Earth imagery. But it serves a purpose to be something for your mind has enough loose configuration to imagine. Because imagining and visualizing is very fucking important. If you're able to do it, you fucking need to continue to do it your whole life. If you stop doing it, you stop seeing shit in your mind's eye, you might want to do some exercises or something, because if you don't use it, you lose it. That's a fucking fact. And a lot of this war on consciousness shit is wearing us down in some of our basic gifts of like imagining something and seeing it with your eyes closed. People take that shit for granted. Tree of life pattern. Why did they choose this? Why does it even work or matter? Is the tree me facing the tree, or is it me standing in the tree looking the other way? It could flip. Yeah. They use all of that part to fuck you up too. And then they switch out the Hebrew letters in the major path of the middle to fuck up the student too. Yeah, they do shit like that. They will intentionally fuck shit up. And if you are not doing it or not supposed to be doing it, you're going to fucking know. And it's going to fling your ass back. Especially when it gets to this very top connected thing right here, because that crosses the abyss. You ain't going to do it without either completely fucking your mind up and going crazy, and they're going to put you in the hospital crazy. You're going to have to go away now crazy, or something else. And that's not even the top. They have the tree cut off, but it does correspond to the middle line. The tree of life basically has 3 horizontal paths along the way of going up, and the 3 horizontal paths are called the whirlwinds. paths. The very bottom one is called the pay, because the letter pay looks like a mouth, and it's the power of words as they come forth out of the mouth having that effect on reality. Now, we don't say words and then have shit catch on fire, but that's not the way it should be. Just take that or leave it, whatever. The next one in the middle is called strength. You see the woman and the lion. Now, what you see in the other decks is that you see in the very background, watching, the lady with the red lion close up, the green lion. And the green lion is the radical essence of metals. It's what you encounter along your way first. It's the power that you got that is inside of you so deep. But then what you see close up is the woman and the lion is being, the kitty cat and the woman, because there's a connection between females and powerful animal creatures that is direct more than with males, because it's talking about the anima of your mind and the animus. But for men have anima, so they have a female mind that can attract that and begin to work with it. It's not a body thing. The power is beyond. The strength is beyond, and it's also the Hebrew letter tet, which is a snake. That motherfucker will bite you, so there you go. And then the very top, the very most top, is the Empress, the door. And that's basically the first thing that has to balance polarity in the... So that one will fuck you all the hell up too, because there's a door. If you try to knock on it and nobody's home, somebody's going to be home, and you're going to get an answering, all right. That's basically all I'm going to say. But I'll try to bring more of this, try to bring it into more focus, because this may be one of these things that is just, there's the umbilicus. The only really thing I ever did, because I don't fucking care about the lines and what shit lines up. I'm concerned with the long distance there is between this place and here, because there's a mechanism that the book talks about called a like the first line that you can set to do anything is like plugging in onto the car the rod that goes into the transmission. It's like there you get all the power. It'll transmit from that one spot. If you don't have that somehow set up, the whole thing dissolves and it's gone. There's no more energy that'll come up beyond your feet. But once you get it plugged in, you can draw the energy in from your feet. You can feel it go up your fucking right foot. And the tingles that, how you get tingles on your body? If somebody says something and it's fucking profound or whatever, you get these tingles over different parts of your body. Those are biophotons releasing out of your body. Now, when you have your whole thing set up as it's supposed to be without being dumbed down and fucked with and your own mistake shit, there's a highly likely situation that would occur, evolutionary and body change, that'll probably phase lock, and then we'll probably be a whole nother fucking being. But with what's going on in the world, we're in a war, and they're trying to dumb down this whole thing so that we just stay stupid meat suits that can continually have some other thing avatar into it and then take over the earth or whatever it is. It's a war. All bullshit aside, it is a war. And it's a war on you, human, because they want to have humans as something they can inhabit and then play around, or a fucking fucked up genetic robot. They got plenty of demonic people and entities stored that can't possess a body correctly or whatever the fuck. They've been working on the technology for a long time, and they're going to take it away, go and put mechanical shit into it. The same shit has already happened with Atlantis. You have a window of opportunity where the organic timeline, and then it gets fucked up again. And I don't want to be a gray alien, so I don't know about you. I'm just not going to do that.